start your message with the word Cornwall. You can email me, it's justin.leigh@bbc.co.uk, or you can give us a ring on 0808 100 1039. We're also on WhatsApp, of course, 08000 321 333. Start your WhatsApp message with the word Cornwall. I'd love to hear from you this morning. If you're involved in looking after the local defibrillators where you live, they are in all sorts of places all over Cornwall now. Some of them are in old phone boxes in the middle of towns and villages. Some of them are in the village hall, lots of other public places as well. Have you been trained to use one? Have you ever had to use one in anger, in an emergency? Have you had one used on you? We'd love your stories today to show the importance of defibrillators and why we need them in our communities. So if you've used one, had one used on you, or know of someone who has, we'd love to hear those stories this morning. Share them with us. Text 81333, put Cornwall at the start of that message. Or better still, give me a ring on 0808 100 1039. The reason we're talking about this today, they've already got quite a few in the parish of St Agnes, in the town or village of St Agnes itself, and in the little villages surrounding St Agnes, but they want to dramatically increase the number available. And leading the charge on this is Councillor Paul Kimberley, who's not only a councillor but also a paramedic. Hello, Paul.
Good morning to you, Justin. Thank you for discussing this morning. It's a great asset to any community, I think.
It really is, and I'm hoping we'll get some great stories this morning about how important an asset it is for places across Cornwall. You've already got a few. I think you've got 10 across the parish. Is that right?
Yes, I've recently become a councillor, and as you've mentioned, with my paramedic backpack, as it were, we've got something called the Community Emergency Plan, which links in with Cornwall Council. And is activated in times like the Boscastle floods, when you have sort of a major incident in the area. So within that document, when I was looking at it earlier in the year, I noticed it identified that we've been told about 10 defibrillators in our parish of 5 villages. And I thought, well, surely that can't be true, only 10 in 5 villages. So the council gave me permission to go and do some digging, as it were, research. And lo and behold, I got to just around 20 that I found that were basically what I'd say is hidden defibrillators. People had them, but hadn't really told anyone that they'd got them.
Oh, right. So the picture was a bit better than you thought, but it's just they weren't.
Absolutely.
And it's important, of course, that everyone knows where they are and how available they are as well. So it was important to document all this.
Absolutely. And also there's there's multiple databases out there that around the country that detail where these defibrillators are, but the government have recently announced that there's one that they want everybody to use, which is called the circuit, and anybody can view the circuit by typing in defib finder, and they can see where the defibrillators are in their parish, village, town or city, so they're aware of where they are before that horrible incident might happen to them. But we put the appeal out to the public and said, has anybody got a defibrillator that we don't know about? And on top of that happening, not only did people come forward with explaining where their hidden defibrillators were, but some fundraisers came forward. And we ended up with a gentleman called Ian Skillings, who did a marathon, supported by his wife and friend. The Beacon Country House Hotel were also fundraising. And John Fowler Holidays at Trevellus have very kindly said that they'll do fundraising for the rest of the year for us. Well, it's so far, we've now got 6 extra defibrillators that we didn't have before. So just by asking the question in your community, you may find that people out there doing fundraising you don't even know about.
Yes, and you may find you've got more defibrillators in your local area than you know about as well. So it's worth doing a bit of a stock take, isn't it, and seeing what's already there. But also your aim now is to capitalise on this added interest and this fundraising and boost it. You want to get up to about 40 in the area in total, is that right?
Well, it looks like we're on target to do that, yes. By some of the businesses coming forward and very kindly saying that they're going to purchase a defibrillator and put it in an outside weatherproof cabinet. We're expanding dramatically, and we're looking like, by the predictive figures I've got at the moment of the people who have said that they'll do it, looking like around 40, just over 40 defibrillators for the parish of St Agnes of the 5 villages. And that now includes, by government guidance, all schools under the project, if you like, that's been done following a child that died in a school. The family have done a link in with the government, and all schools are now being offered defibrillators.
Well, and this is important as well, because it's required across all age groups, isn't it? I mean, our colleague here, Anushka, was telling me on breakfast this morning that she had a defibrillator used on her at the age of 2 and owes her life to that. Her heart stopped and she owes her life now. Here she is working as a broadcaster all these years later, but it was used on her at 2. So it shows the difference it can make. How important are they, though, in terms of, or how well used are they? I'm just thinking, if you've got 40 potentially now across St Agnes Parish, that sounds like a good number, and the more the merrier. That's brilliant news. But how often are they actually put into practice and used?
You know, Justin, that's a question, a very good question, and a question several people have asked me. And I've contacted the circuit to ask them where or what the average is of use of a defibrillator. And our open discussion, I think, as medics and as people that are keen to have these in the community, is there are never enough. You could have one in every single road. And because at the time that it's needed, when it's needed in minutes. And if we have 40 defibrillators, my ethos with this project is, if one of them is used once and it saves a life, you can't put a price on that.
Yeah.
So as many as you can get. Saturate your areas, and any other councils that are interested in discussing what we've done, they're more than welcome to get hold of me, and we can sort of say how we did it and what we did with a parish defibrillator map that we now have available. And we've even got one for those that are aware of St Agnes Head, one of the most remote locations near the beacon in St Agnes. We've actually got a defibrillator there, thanks to the collaboration between the National Coast Watch Institute, the National Trust, and ourselves, and the fundraisers that paid for it. So the options are endless.
And tell us the difference they can make in an emergency. As a paramedic, you'll be familiar with this. We've got a geographically rural county. Sometimes it can take the emergency services longer to get to the scene of an emergency than they would really like. So if a defibrillator can be used in minutes or seconds in a local area before the paramedics arrive, what difference can that make to someone?
In 3 words, life and death. And the fallacy that you need training to use these must, in my opinion, be reduced. They are purely they're a unit that is completely self-directed, and you would always call 999 in any case of collapse or emergency like this. So you will have someone on the end of the phone who can guide you through what to do, tell you where the nearest defibrillator is, and explain how to go through the process of looking after the casualty. And as soon as you open the lid of the defibrillator, it starts to talk to you, and it explains every detail, right down to taking off the clothes, exposing the bare chest. And that really can be minutes, seconds, saving lives, because when the heart goes out of rhythm, it goes into a fibrillation. And that's why they're called a defibrillator. They shock the heart back into the correct rhythm, and therefore the heart starts to beat systematically properly, as it should, and you save a life. So please, if you do get the opportunity of going online and just typing in what is a defibrillator, or how does it work, there's multiple training videos online, and also in the village we've kindly been donated some funds for a trainer defibrillator, and have some dummies. So I'm going to offer up in the autumn to do some training sessions in and around the parishes, along with some colleagues and friends from other emergency services, so we can just show people how they work, to take away some of the fear.
That's a brilliant idea, but also an important message there, that even if you don't get the training, the actual device will talk you through it. So don't be put off if you find yourself in that situation, think, well, I've never been trained, I can't possibly use this. The best thing is to start using it, because it's going to talk you through what you need to do.
Absolutely. You do not need to fear these devices. I know when I first came as a paramedic many moons ago, and they were a new device, even the paramedics were nervous of them. But now they have become a completely community-orientated asset that anybody can use.
I'm just wondering, though, if can they be used in the wrong way? Can they be used because someone has collapsed for other reasons? Is it possible to make I mean, I don't want to be alarmist and I don't want to put people off using them, but are there situations where it would be incorrect to use them, and how would you know, as a non-trained medical person, how would you know when is right to use a defibrillator and when it is not appropriate?
Another great question. They are automatic. So I'll give you an extreme example. If I was to put two defibrillator pads, which are the little sticky pads we've got on the chest, if I put one on each cheek of your face rather than on your chest and turn the button on, the defibrillator will not recognise that it's in the right place. It will recognise it's not in the right place, and it won't do anything. It's only looking for particular functions and rhythms of your heart, providing the pads are in the right place. So it won't do anything. It won't even allow you to put a shock through the human body, because the software is so clever inside that it identifies what it needs to identify and will only allow shocking when that happens.
Do you know, I didn't know that. That's really good to know, so that if someone had collapsed for some other reason and actually their heart rhythm was okay, the defibrillator, if you used it on them at that point, would recognise that the heart rate is okay or the rhythm is okay and then wouldn't do anything.
That's exactly correct. They're called automatic external defibrillators. You may know some people who've had previous heart attacks or heart fibrillation issues, and they have an internal defibrillator. So they have a little tiny defibrillator put inside their body that recognises when the heart goes out of rhythm, gives a tiny electrical shock to push it back into rhythm. And there are people walking around in our community that you wouldn't even know have got them. But these are for the critical emergency state, where some of these people are identified in the first place. They have an external defibrillator used on them, go to hospital, and the cardiologists diagnose that they've actually got a heart electrical irregularity, and they give them an internal defibrillator to live with for the rest of their life.
Right. It's an amazing piece of equipment. Now, what was really important in all of this conversation was discovering that there were some in the community that you really didn't know about. So you've now got a proper list of information and where they are, their location and everything. You're a very busy tourist area, lots of visitors coming and going. So anyone listening this morning, local or visitor, who wants to know where the defibrillators are in the St Agnes Parish, where's the best place to find the information?
The best place to find it is a website called The Circuit, which is ratified by 4 of the major organisations involved with cardiac care. So that's Resuscitation Council UK, the St John's Ambulance, the British Heart Foundation, and the Association of the Chief Ambulance Officers in the country. And all people are now being guided, if they have a defibrillator that they wish to be either partly available to the public or fully available 24/7, please register your defibrillator on that site. And if you then wish to view as a lay person without having a defibrillator, you type in Defib Finder, and it will come up with a warning box to say, is this an emergency, call 999. You can go past that box and then just view where the defibrillators are in your area by typing in your town, your city, or your postcode, so you have an awareness of where they are.
And worth familiarising yourself prior to an emergency, so that you don't lose valuable seconds during an emergency trying to work out where it is.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Brilliant stuff.
Justin,
Paul,
may I just say, if anybody wishes to join in with us in the village, we still need to be able to fund some cabinets for 6 of the defibrillators. In other words, to make them externally accessible to the general public. So if anybody wants to come forward from our community with any more fundraising ideas, we need to raise about £2,700 to make 6 other defibrillators available to the general public, which are currently in indoor areas, and the owners of those, or the hosts of those, have said that they are happy to put them outside, but they don't have the funding to do so.
Yeah.
So just an extra plug there, if you wouldn't mind.
No, absolutely. It's all life-saving stuff, so very important. Paul, good luck with it all. Thank you very much for taking taking us through that today. I thought I knew a bit about defibrillators, but I learned a great deal more from you this morning. So thank you for that. St Agnes counsellor and paramedic, Councillor Paul Kimberley, looking at the improvements in the range and availability of defibrillators in the St Agnes Parish area. If you've used one, if you've had one used on you, we'd love to hear your story this morning.
Text 81333, starting your message with Cornwall.
Texts are charged at your standard message rates. See our privacy notice at bbc.co.uk/local radio privacy or find us on social media.
BBC Radio Cornwall.